June 6, 1996, at 2:31 a.m., 9/11 dispatchers in Rowlett, Texas, received a call from the Darlie Routier residence at 5801 Eagle Drive. Routier told the operator that her home had been broken into and that an intruder had stabbed her children, 6-year-old Devon and 5-year-old Damon, and cut her throat. Police arrived within 3 minutes of the 911 call. They discovered a window screen in the garage had been cut, which indicated a possible entry point for an intruder. A search of the house and grounds did not locate an intruder. Having thus secured the site, police permitted paramedics to attend to the victims. Routier told the police that she had fallen asleep on the couch with her 2 boys while watching television, only to wake up later and discover an unknown man in her house. She stated that as she approached him, the man fled, dropping the knife in a utility room as he ran. After picking up the knife and chasing him away, Routier said she realized that she and her children had been wounded and that she called 911. Police found it highly suspicious that Routier and her sons had been severely wounded by an armed intruder without waking her until after the attack had occurred. Routier told police that the assailant escaped through the garage. Investigators said that the garage contained no blood drops, and added that indications were that no one had run through there at all. The window sills in the garage had untouched layers of dust, including the window that had been cut, implying that no one had actually climbed through it. And the mulch in the flower beds between the garage and the backyard gate was undisturbed. However, an unknown fingerprint was found on the windowsill that did not belong to anyone in the family. 75 yards away from the house, a bloody sock was discovered. Lab tests revealed it had blood from both Damon and Devon on it. Routier's sons sustained fatal injuries. Her wounds, described as superficial, came within 2 millimeters of her carotid artery. Routier was treated at a hospital and released 2 days later. Her youngest son, 7-month-old Drake, was asleep upstairs with her husband Darren at the time of the murders. Both escaped harm. Newscasts showed Routier and other family members holding a birthday party at the boy's grave to posthumously celebrate Devon's 7th birthday 8 days after the murders. She was shown smiling and laughing as she sprayed silly string on the graves in celebration, singing, "Happy Birthday." Family members point out that the newscasts did not show an earlier video that depicted a solemn ceremony honoring the children. 4 days later, on June 18, Routier was arrested and charged with capital murder. Routier later commented on the video, saying, "He wanted to be 7. I did the only thing I knew to do to honor him and give him all his wishes because he wasn't here anymore. But how do you know what you're going to do when you lose 2 children? How do you know how you're going to act?" Darlie Lynn Peck Routier, born January 4, 1970, in Rowlett, Texas. In February 1997, the jury found Routier guilty of the murder of Damon, and sentenced her to death by lethal injection. Routier's trial began on January 6, 1997, in Kerrville, Texas. The prosecution suggested that Routier murdered her sons because of the family's financial difficulties. Prosecutors described her as a pampered, materialistic woman with substantial debt, plummeting credit ratings, and little money in the bank, who feared that her lavish lifestyle was about to end. Crime scene consultant James Cron testified that evidence suggested a scene inside the Routier residence had been staged. The prosecution also suggested there was a financial motive for the murders since both boys had a life insurance policy on them. The defense contended that this amounted to only $10,000, not enough to cover their funeral expenses. Furthermore, they asked why, if she was willing to murder for money, she did not kill her husband instead, as he had an $800,000 life insurance policy. The defense also questioned why, if she killed her sons to preserve her lavish lifestyle, she left her youngest son, 7-month-old Drake, alive and unharmed. Routier was represented at trial by lawyer Douglas Mulder. Defense attorneys said that there was no reason why she would have killed her children and that the case did not have a motive, a confession, or any witnesses. They asserted that it was unrealistic to accuse Routier of staging a crime scene. Her attorneys advised her not to appear on the witness stand, but she testified anyway and withered under cross-examination by prosecutor Toby Shook. San Antonio Chief Medical Examiner Vincent DeMaio testified that the wound to Routier's neck came within 2 millimeters of her carotid artery and that it was not consistent with the self-inflicted wounds he had seen in the past. That differed from the assertions of her treating physicians, who had told police officials that the wounds might have been self-inflicted. On February 1st, Routier was convicted of murdering Damon. Darlie Routier is currently on Texas death row. On February 4th, she was sentenced to death by lethal injection. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.